All right, welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Dixon, and this is the first course in a series of courses that I'm offering that I specifically tailored. And this first course is actually called Prompt Engineering for AI Bots. So today we're setting the stage on what generative AI is, what prompt engineering means, and how does it apply to AI bots like ChatGPT and others that are generative AI, right? But specifically for this lesson, we're going to focus on large language models, which are shortened as LLMs. So by the end of this video, you should get two things out of this. You should understand key terms, and you should also understand the overall goals for all of the videos associated with this course. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and dive into what generative AI is and what large language models are. So what is generative AI, right? So the idea of this is it's a system that creates new content. Like it could be text, it could be images, it could be videos, it could be whatever it is, music included, based on patterns that it's already learned based on historical data. So that means like, okay, well, we've already have these things that's in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn from that information to create something brand new. Large language models are a subset of generative AI models, or bots rather, whichever you want to say. We abbreviate large language models with LLMs. And so the idea of what large language models does is they take and train on a lot of data, it's big amounts of data, and it gives you out a response that is very human-like and natural in human language. For example, your ChatGPT, your Claude, your DeepSeek, all of those, right? So large language models are the type of bots that you can actually hold conversations with. It will give you out some type of response that is an answer. It can help you create a story, narrate with you. Those are what large language models can do, and that's what we're going to focus on in this entire course. So as a disclaimer for everyone, I will be using ChatGPT, the plus version, so I won't be able to see what's exact, or you won't be able to see what's coming out on the free version, but this particular technique with prompt engineering should work on all models. So shout out to ChatGPT. They are not sponsoring this. I actually have to pay for all of this myself. We know how higher education and secondary education kind of works. You only got to work within the confines of what they allow you to work in. And so I really like ChatGPT and the actual source. That's what I was introduced to at the beginning. And being that, I create some of these things, I'm more so interested in the output and what actually works and how to get the general public to understand this stuff. So shout out to ChatGPT, but none of this is actually sponsored. Also, for intellectual property matters, I am not going to give this information freely out. So you can email me if you would like the exact transcript, the exact notes, the PowerPoints, and syllabus for this course that I've created, and I'll gladly share it with you. You can look at my email attached below, or if I'm not mistaken, it's linked to my YouTube page. So if you're looking at this on TikTok or wherever you're located, YouTube has my email. So yeah, definitely check it out and send me an email or shoot a comment, and I'll definitely reach out. So how does these large language models, these bots, work, right? So the idea is a large language model, it predicts the next word in a sentence based on the input that we actually give it, which we call a prompt. So in other words, a large language model won't actually work until we actually give it something. So over more sentences, the responses from the large language model will be more coherent and relevant based on the input that you actually give it. And like I said, we call that actually a prompt, right? And this isn't just for the sciences. This is also for your humanities, your arts, whatever, right? You can get something out of it based on the prompt that you engineer. Serious note, these large language models do not think. They do not understand like humans at all. It is literally a prediction-based system using mathematical statistics to give a prediction of the text you're looking for. Okay, so based on historical text and data that it already is being fed. So in other words, this stuff is not really grounded in human knowledge. So you have to make sure that what is actually being put out is actually correct. So please be very careful and understand that. So a lot of people feels that this is solid answer. This is not true. None of this is really grounded in fact based on a simple prompt. Now, AI has gotten a little bit more powerful to make sure you can ground things in facts, but you still want to make sure you actually check the resources. I'll actually show you that later. So the overall gist of how large language models work, the more you feed it, the more accurate the model gets. If you just give it one simple sentence, it's going to give you something that's probably super irrelevant. It might get it correct, or it might give you something that's super irrelevant. It depends on the context that's actually added to the actual prompt. So now we talk about what is prompt engineering. In my opinion, it's a very interdisciplinary sport. It's an art and it's a science at the same time. The idea is you're going to try to craft this input text, which from this point forward, we will call a prompt, that we actually give that AI bot or our large language model, whichever one you're actually using, in order to guide it towards the desired output that we want. It's to guide it towards the desired output that we want. It's not going to give it to us, we're guiding it. So let's think about something that a prompt could potentially be, right? Or how you construct an actual prompt. If you're faculty or if you're in management or in some situation where you have to give direction, some type of management role where you're giving direction to someone that has to complete a task without you present, you will set down the foundations of everything that you expect. What time things needs to be done, how it needs to be done, why it needs to be done, what you expect, etc. All of those questions that you would, or statements that you would give towards someone that you need something completed from, that is something that you would want to think about when you're constructing this prompt. Because now when you hand that actual paper to someone or you hand those directions to someone, it's very clear as to what it is they need to do. Think of writing instructions for someone as the prompt. So the idea is this: if generative AI is the engine, learning how to drive is the prompt engineering. The better the prompt, right, the better your output. The better you drive, the better you learn how to drive, the better you drive, right? The better the engine lasts and holds up in some retrospect. So in this series, we're going to learn all of the techniques, or some of the techniques rather, that can help engineer the prompts to give us the best results that we're looking for out of these AI bots. That's the overall objective of the series of videos that I'm going to upload. If you phrase everything precisely, if you give your requests clearly, provide context, even provide answers, you can get a more useful and more relevant and precise response from your large language model. So, over the next 12 weeks, we will explore various ways and strategies and use cases of how to construct prompt engineering. So in the next 12 videos, you're going to we are rather going to explore various strategies and use cases of prompt engineering. And here's a guide as to how. In the middle of the course, we're going to explore more advanced tactics, like few-shot prompting, which provide examples inside an actual prompt. We're also going to look at chain of thought prompting, which is guiding the AI to reason step by step and how to handle multi-turn conversations as well with an AI bot. Those are very advanced techniques and tactics, but they are very, very useful. All right, and so later on in the discussion, or videos rather, we're going to discuss how to refine and follow up on the answers. AI doesn't always get it right for the most part the first time, and so what you'll learn are techniques how to iterate, correcting these bots and what comes out, asking it to clarify exactly what it's stating, and also asking it to expand on its replies if it's not expanded enough. So that's what we'll learn later on in videos. Now, the idea that we need to also address is kind of like the elephant in the room, the hallucinations. That's when it gives, the AI bot confidently gives incorrect answers or information, right? And there's ways to mitigate that through prompting. There will be discussions on limits of AI as well, and also ethical considerations and best practices on how to use these AI tools responsibly. Sorry. So, yeah, the idea of how to make sure that it does not hallucinate when it comes down to the output. Sorry. And video 12 is something that'll kind of be unlocked where we'll wrap up with the capstone style discussion of everything that we learned, and also wrapping it up in a real world example by doing some type of final prompt project. That will be something that we're looking at in some retrospect implementing, just to show that you have actually gone through something of this nature. So now we're going to discuss the key definitions. And the first one that we discussed earlier was generative AI. Just to remind you, these are the different types of AI bots that creates new content, whether it be text, images, music, whatever, in response to prompts. This leads us to the next definition, the prompt. That's the input text or question you give to an artificial intelligence bot. This includes, but is not limited to, questions, context, examples, or whatever you may deem necessary for the output you want. And so now that leads us to the large language model, which we abbreviate as LLM, which is a specific type of generative AI bot or AI bot model like ChatGPT that's trained on a lot of data, a lot of text data, capable of generating human-like responses or text, if that makes sense. So once you have this large language model starts when you initiate a prompt, but large language models are like one of the generative AI bots that are out there. Now that leads us to what an AI bot is. So in our context, we're using it as a chat-based AI system like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, etc., that you interact with through some type of language. And it doesn't really matter what language you type in, but English for the most part is what I know and use. So if those that responsibly use these bots that are non-native English speakers, I would love to hear your response. So now the question is, what is prompt engineering? Like I said, it's an art and science of crafting prompts skillfully that will guide the AI bot that you're working with towards the output that you desire or want. So what prompt engineering does, it provides techniques and strategies to communicate effectively with that particular AI model that you're working with. So why is it important? Why is prompt engineering? Why does it matter, right? The same AI model can give dramatically different responses to two different prompts. Even if it's in the same topic, but a well-engineered prompt can make a drastic difference between, a single line prompt, where that single line prompt will probably give you confusing and irrelevant answers that are not helpful at all. So here's an example prompt. I just pretty much asked it to write an email, and so that's what it did. And here is an engineered prompt that gives a little bit more detail about what that email needs to actually state. And this is what it did. So there are such things as good prompts and bad prompts. And so what we want to do is we want to engineer a prompt which will give us a more useful and or relevant output that you desire from that particular AI large language model bot. So if you have any questions about anything that I just presented in this video, go ahead, drop them in the comments. Feel free to email me. I think my email, it should be attached inside of the bio. And definitely get ready for the next video, which is going to roll out where we're actually going to get in the nitty gritty of prompt techniques. So I'm actually going to show you different techniques on how to enhance your prompt. Thank you all. Click subscribe, join, follow, support, however you feel to keep the content rolling. I'll see you in the next 12 videos.